morning. Our readings are taken from Rays of the One Light, the weekly commentaries in the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. And this week is, Can Man See God? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. There is a saying in chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John that would seem to respond with a definite no to the question, can man see God? The saying is, no man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. Many great saints, however, claim to have seen God. If we ask then, can God be seen, rather than can man see God, the answer is yes, else those saints lied, and the scriptures themselves lied. For Jesus also said, Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The point is, it is not man, this human body, these human eyes, that sees God. God can be seen only with spiritual vision, with the eye of the soul. As the Bhagavad Gita puts it in the 11th chapter, Thou canst not see me with mortal eyes, therefore I now give thee sight divine. Behold my supreme power of yoga. With these words, Hari, the exalted Lord of yoga, revealed himself to Arjuna in his infinite form. Paramahansa Yogananda, in Autobiography of a Yogi, describes the supernal experience in words more readily comprehensible to modern minds than the poetic phraseology of the Bhagavad Gita. The chapter, An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, is one of the most inspiringly beautiful in all mystical literature. Here is a brief excerpt. An oceanic joy broke upon calm, endless shores of my soul. The Spirit of God, I realized, is exhaustless bliss. His body is countless tissues of light. I saw the divine dispersion of rays pour from an eternal source, blazing into galaxies, transfigured with ineffable auras. Again and again, I saw the creative beams condense into constellations, then resolve into sheets of transparent flame. By rhythmic reversion, sextillion worlds passed into diaphanous luster. Fire became firmament. I cognized the center of the Empyrean as a point of intuitive perception in my heart. Irradiating splendor issued from my nucleus to every part of the universal structure. The creative voice of God I heard resounding as Om, the vibration of the cosmic motor. This, so the great masters aver, is what God is. And this also, they insist, is what we are in our deepest reality. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
My name is Surendra. I'm here this morning with Lorna and Manisha, and we thank you very much for joining us. You know, in most churches, the next part of this Sunday service would be called the sermon. I've always thought that word was a bit pretentious. I'm not one to give you a sermon. And honestly, I've never thought of anyone standing on this dais as giving a service. Giving a sermon. It's really our privilege to be able to share with you the insights and wisdom that these enlightened masters have brought to us, along with Swami Kriyananda, of course. So I hope these next few minutes provide some inspiration through them, of course, and through this reading. Our reading this morning was whether man can see God. In a word, no. Our human sight is a very limited range. It has a very limited range of visibility. But as devotees, we can begin to see God by looking for Him in all that surrounds and permeates life as we know it, in things of beauty, in the people that we love, even in the challenges that we face. Seeing God is more about inner awareness than it is about any sensory experience. God is formless, colorless, invisible to the eye. To borrow a line from Gertrude Stein, there is no there. How can you see a thing like that? A that is not a that. And clearly, you cannot. Yet within us is an aspect of that formless, mystical essence, and it makes possible that we, not as human beings, but as our true selves, as our true nature, can begin to experience God. We are each in eternal possession of an Atman, the immortal soul. And when we are able to connect with that, God shows up. Not as a tangible experience, but as a knowing. And knowing God is what seeing God is all about. It seems fair to say that the purpose of this life is to reach that state of inner being in which knowing God becomes an ongoing reality. It leads our soul to its destiny, which is freedom. Needless to say, we aren't there yet. And it's a journey of many, many lifetimes, hopefully most of which we've experienced already. The whole question of what we are and who we are it's difficult to puzzle through. On the one hand, we have thoughts, perceptions, we have freedom of choice, we have visual input and a host of other sensations, which we lump into a sort of an overarching category called our experience. And then our minds segment this experience into a linear timeline, which essentially amounts to one thing after another. That's how our lives unfold. From the time we were born until we die, every moment and every event within that moment is immediately succeeded by another. And as long as we limit ourselves to that worldly perspective, there is no escape from the time-driven process that we regard as real. Now, to make this at least more agreeable, the reality we perceive has countless features on which we can concur. And we give these features names and definitions to identify them one from the other. Hand, harmonium, happy, sad, and so on. I'm sure that no one here would confuse a hand with a harmonium, nor happy from sad. But every name and every label that we apply adds to our sense of separation, doesn't it? We see things as separation. You and I and all the people and all the things that we see as distinct makes it hard to see the oneness of all that is, and thus impossible to see God, as was pointed out in the reading this morning, from within our true selves. Now, that's not to say that we should neglect or could neglect our senses. We absolutely need them to navigate and optimize how we function in this world, in this life. We need them to get around, to gather food, to raise our families, to find useful employment, take care of our elders, and so on. But if the purpose of this life is for us to transcend it, what is that all about? That question, of course, gets into a whole study of the role of duality, the law of karma, the effect of our attachments and our likes and dislikes, obviously much more than we can incorporate into a 20-minute talk. But I think that we have to understand, first and foremost, that the goal of this life is not in this life. The goal is for us to remember that we are infinitely more than what we perceive ourselves to be, and then to act in accordance with that higher potential as we seek to attain it. This is not easy to do. It reminds me of a quote from Gloria Steinem. I'm sure you've heard the axiom, "The truth will set you free." She added a corollary. "The truth will set you free," she said, "but first it will irritate the heck out of you." Actually, that's not the way she said it, but her words were not quite appropriate for a church-going audience, so we'll leave it at irritation. We live in what is still a very competitive world. And to get ahead in that world, most people think they have to play the game. They perceive that competition is a form of truth. But it is not, and it will not set you free. You cannot see or be with God if your ego is pushing you to see life and to live life in that way. Jesus said in the reading that to see God we must be pure in heart. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. One of the Beatitudes. He didn't mean 80%, nor even 99%. Purity is 100%. And that means no intrusive distractions, worldly desires, the many attachments that we have, and the tainted habits and tendencies. Now that's an extremely tall order. Because here we are, we're trying to stay inward, and yet we're contending with all those parts of the puzzle that we perceive as separate. And we're getting yanked around by that litany of likes and dislikes we have. We're trying to figure out how in this world we can rise above these perceptions and become self-realized. Well, the good news is purity is a direction. If you're only at 80%, strive for 81, and 81 will get you to 82. Look for God everywhere, not so much with your eyes, but with your heart and soul. The journey is one of joy, and if joy, that inner joy, is your motivation, it's only a matter of time before God will show up and become visible to you within the very essence of your being. This is our destiny. And the only thing keeping us from it is focusing with body and mind instead of with heart and soul. Our affirmation this week, as Lorna read, is the quality of contentment. And it ties in very nicely to this topic, because only in being inwardly contented can we rise to the experience of knowing God. Contentment is one of the 5 niyamas, the primary virtues defined and described by Patanjali in his sutras. As long as we seek contentment in outward worldly pursuits, we miss the boat that sails across the sea of delusion to divine bliss. And in missing that boat, we miss the opportunity to see and know God. What comes of itself, let it come. That was Swami Kriyananda's practical advice for achieving true contentment. What exactly does that mean? In the first place, it means that whatever appears in front of you has arrived as a karmic response to a certain need that you have, whether or not you think you have that need. And very often, it will not be what you have chosen. Second is the opportunity that this presents. What comes of itself is not only coming from God's will, it is coming with a message that here is a chance to grow in spirit and in strength, to act in your soul's best interest instead of your ego's usual reactive manner. The challenge before us is simply to meet it with understanding that this is coming with love. Third is the toughest part. It's to avoid wishing that things were different than they are. Whenever you're faced with a test, be it great or small, it tends to trigger an automatic regret or complaint, a wish that we didn't have to deal with whatever is before us. If only this or that hadn't happened. And that, of course, guarantees our discontent. There is simply no way to draw the best from any and every circumstance without accepting the fact that it is what it is. If you don't like your boss, for example, pray for the situation to improve. Do the best you can to improve that situation. And if you can't, maybe you need to look for someplace else to work. If your health has taken a turn for the worse, what is the message in that? Can we see the hand of God in what we are being asked to respond, how we are being asked to respond to that downturn? If someone dear to you has died, or if you've had a financial setback, or if an important relationship has gone from being a blessing to becoming a burden, what is the point of wishing that things were different? They're not. Especially if the effect prevents you from changing your attitude and taking positive action. We tend to equate contentment with success, believing that if we succeed in pursuing whatever it is that we're seeking, that we will be happy and contented. But that contentment will fade because, by definition, it is finite. It is mortal. Dale Carnegie gave us a wonderful quote that puts this into wise perspective. He said, "Success is getting what you want, but happiness, contentment, is wanting what you get." What comes of itself is going to come, whether or not you like it, So why not strive to want whatever it is? As you make the most of it, happiness and contentment will be yours. This life is a school, and the curriculum for most of us is less about learning than it is about unlearning. Our lack of contentment and our lack of being able to see God is due to the habits, the desires that we have been conditioned to have and to hold, most of them self-imposed. They may have been acquired with good intentions, but we all know what is paved with good intentions. The good news is we can change. We can change. And the more we do, the more contented and closer to God we get. Our destiny is self-realization. When is only a matter of how long we decide to take. And meanwhile, God is waiting to be seen. I'd like to close with a reading from Whispers from Eternity that I believe speaks to this as guiding us to how we should be thinking about it. Bless me that I may behold nothing but that which is good. Teach me that I may touch only purity. Train me that I may listen to thy voice alone in all good speech and in the beauty of all lovely melodies. Direct me to breathe only the perfume of pure sense from the flowers of spirit. Invite me to indulge only in the wholesome taste of soul-nourishing food. Teach me to absorb only that which reminds me of thee. Om Shanti.
I was caught up in ecstasy. 'Twas a day sanctified by God. There he showed me the truths of heaven, truths which all seeking him should know. How the soul made to live in freedom can reclaim its eternal right. How the night born of our delusions can be fired, blazing with his light.